Remember, when Symphony came out with their numbers last quarter, which was 12th or 13th August, I think a lot of people would have doubted about the continuation of the growth story as well. But they have bounced back remarkably this quarter. Sales up 23%, PAT up 33%, EBITDA margins about 29.5%. So it's almost like it's back to basics. Let's try and figure that out if it's true or no with Nrupesh Shah, ED of Symphony. He joins us right now on the show. Good having you, Nrupesh. Thanks so much for joining in. And it is a bit of a bounce, you would have to admit. Now, my question is, when I was looking at the rural volumes for the FMCG companies, it didn't inspire too much of confidence. Somehow, things have gone all right for you. Okay, I don't think Nrupesh Shah can hear me. We'll just get that line going in a bit. But this is Symphony, and they'll start speaking to us any moment now. While we wait for that, Ashwini Gujral is with us. And I think just take a quick comment from him. Ashwini, a broad market comment as well, because you were talking about this profit booking bit, and then come in on Symphony, which has cooled off from the highs of the day, but a smart move nevertheless. Okay, Ashwini, I have the fundamental bit on Symphony, and that has looked very solid this quarter. It's not a typical trader-friendly stock, but it has given a good move today, though it's off the highs of the day. For somebody who is trading a Symphony, how should he approach the stock?
Well, Symphony, the bottom seems to be at about 1750, 1800. So that way, you have a fair idea of where the bottom could be. For a trading point of view, you can probably keep a 1950 sort of a stop and possibly keep targets of 2320 and 2550. But it does seem that it's coming out of some sort of a correction.
And it is. Okay, and Nrupesh Shah is with us to talk about the numbers and the outlook ahead. Good having you, Nrupesh. Thanks so much for joining in. I personally was very disappointed by what happened the last quarter, but you guys have bounced back. Give me the breakup of volumes versus pricing for this quarter, and would you now safely say that the last quarter was an aberration, and what you're showing this quarter is something that you can safely show for the quarters ahead for this fiscal as well?
Yeah, so in the first quarter, top line wise, we have grown by 24%, and at a PAT level, we have grown by 33% on YOY basis. Coming to volume, there is a robust growth of almost 18% domestic and international sales put together. So in the product, in the brand, of course, there is a huge potential, and as we have conveyed in the past, we expect to maintain 20-25% medium term to long term CAGR growth in respect of the top line. And as far as June 15 quarter was concerned, it was certainly an aberration, mainly on account of bad summer.
Nrupesh, what is kicking on growth right now? Is it still largely got to do with the rural spend? Because I didn't see evidence of that in the one or two FMCG names that came out. So what has worked for you this quarter? Is it the rural spend, or is it a lot of industrial volumes that are now starting to kick in for you? Because I see or I hear a lot of people talking about the cooler installations for factories and on an industrial basis as opposed to it being just a retail play.
No, of course, for Symphony in the first two quarters, that is September quarter and December quarter, it is more dealer and distributor offtake. Actual customer sales takes place only in the third quarter or fourth quarter. But there is all round very positive sentiments by the distributor, and this time we have also succeeded in having excellent dealer enrollment in the first quarter. And again, in our case, the lifting at the level of the distributor or dealer is fully paid with 100% advance. So that shows very clearly tremendous confidence in the brand, in the product, and probably the confidence of distributor and dealer is the reflection of the consumer confidence across the territory, across the geographies, including rural as well as urban.
Okay. Have you been able to sell your products at premium prices that you usually charge, or have the new launches been at competitive prices hurting your margins? You've spoken about volume growth. The other aspect of the top line is really pricing. How is that trending?
So far in the first quarter, in the window category, we have launched one new model. Of course, down the line, it's a continuous process. We keep on launching and upgrading new models, and for different applications, for different purposes, that will keep on happen. But this is also on account of softening of the raw material prices and also better volume mix and pricing power.
Nrupesh, what about the international operations? They nosedived the last quarter. Have they picked up a bit? And give us a flavor of what now you guys have, I think, a bunch of international subsidiaries, if I may use that term. How are those shaping up?
Of course, in September quarter on YOY, there is a decline in international sales, but it's more like a spillover of the business. We expect that in the second quarter and third quarter, we should be in a position to catch up. And in the medium term, we are very confident and we see a huge potential of international business. On top of it, about our Chinese acquisition, which we expect to close the deal in next couple of months, and that should also help us in better international access on account of Chinese acquisition.
And what would that do for your guidance for FY16, FY17 in terms of sales and profits?
We don't give a guidance for the quarter or for the year, but we maintain that in medium to long term, our CAGR growth will be 20-25% in top line. Having said that, there may be a quarter or two or year or so where there may be exceptionally high growth, there may be even low growth.
Nrupesh, just one final word really. And what's the cash on the books right now after all that you've done? There is some acquisitions, you've used up, I believe, some cash for that as well. The last I spoke to Achal Bakeri, it was about 200 odd crores. What would that be right now?
As on 30th June, that is last year end, we had cash on hand approximately 270 crore. And as far as acquisition is concerned, it doesn't need much of the cash. On the contrary, in IMPCO, we have successfully monetized part of the asset. So even that fund is coming back.
Well, continue the good work. I'm sure. I'm happy you've turned around. All the best for the quarters ahead. And we look forward to talking to you again when your numbers do come out. But congrats on the quarter. Thanks so much for joining in today.
Thank you.
That's Symphony. They have bounced back this quarter. It's 5% growth, but essentially they've reverted back to mean is the takeaway. They believe that 20-25% could be achievable. They've again done that. 20-22% of top line growth, 30-35% of bottom line growth, margins in the higher 20s, close to 30% almost. So it's back to basics, so to say. And I think the reiteration of that growth rate for the year is what is leading to that little bit of an uptick in the stock again. I think it's a fairly decent quarter. But remember, it's a stock that's come down from 3,000 all the way to 1,800, 1,700, and now trying to bounce back because of a return to growth. Mayuresh Joshi is with us to talk about his sense of the markets and stocks.